Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this pre-application question and answer session. So we're really pleased so many of you could join us today, and we hope you find this useful. I'm Gina Crane. I'm Director of Communications and Learning here at Esme Fairbairn Foundation. I'm here with my colleagues, Luna, who's managing the tech and dealing with all the questions, Genevieve and Heather, who will share more detail behind our priorities. So yeah, welcome. We'll get going. Okay, this is the second time that we've run a webinar like this. Applicants told us that being able to ask us questions before they submit an expression of interest in our application process would be really helpful. And we have considered different ways of offering this. We hope that this pre-application Q&A webinar gives you a good chance to ask your questions and make sure we have to answer them and is a good use of everyone's time. However, this is still only the second time we've run this, so honest feedback is really helpful, and we'll be gathering it after the session, or you can send us an email. We want to use most of the time to answer your questions, so we'll try to limit this bit, our part, leaving time for what you want to say. So we're going to cover quick introduction to Esme on our strategy, what we don't fund, what we're looking for, what we consider when making decisions, a brief outline of the application process, then it's over to you for questions. And we're aware we need to strike a tricky balance today. We want to be transparent, but we also want to be absolutely honest. We're not holding this webinar to encourage more applications. We already get a lot more than we can fund. That's not the aim. So need is rising across the in the sectors we support, and in the past few months we've been receiving more funding applications than before. We're still making the same number of grants, so we know we need to do more to save you from spending precious time applying to us when or if it's unlikely we'll fund your work. So we hope this webinar will help you better understand whether to invest time into applying to us or if your efforts might be better focused elsewhere. We want to answer as many questions as possible, but we know the main question for many of you will be, will Esme fund my work? And I'm sorry, but the answer for most of you is going to be no. We won't be able to give you one-to-one advice or feedback about your own organisation, but we hope we can give you a clearer picture of what we are looking to fund, how we make decisions, and how we use our application process to do that. So a little bit about us. Our strategy, which will run until the end of 2027, focuses on three main aims: improving our natural world, securing a fairer future, and strengthening the bonds in communities in the UK. And as well as assessing and managing grants, our funding managers are exploring other ways we can be a bit more proactive in making progress towards these goals. They're doing things like commissioning research, convening, co-designing, and using our influence, and also in getting out there, meeting people and inviting applications for work. This is an overview of our strategy. You can find all the details of our strategic priorities on our website, as well as full funding guidance, more information on each priority, including what outcomes we want to see and examples of work we've done and we've funded. I'm going to hand over now to my colleague, Jen.
Hi, everybody. So let's look at our grants in numbers. In practical terms, this slide shows you the size and shape of our grant making towards our aims and priorities. We have chosen to focus mainly on a relatively small number of long-term grants, and we mostly make core cost grants. Last year, we made 188 grants. 39 grants made to organisations we haven't funded before, remaining 71% by number going to organisations that we have funded at some point previously. Since 1961, we've supported 12,000 organisations, quite a lot. But obviously, there's quite a lot of things that we don't fund. So in terms of the things that we don't support, because our focus is on long-term grants for work with a more strategic focus, We don't fund very small organisations in terms of their turnover, so that's what we would call less than £100,000 a year. I know you might have some questions about that. We can talk about that later, but that's how we currently classify it. And we don't fund organisations that don't have what we would call well-established governance. And there's more information about what we mean by that on our website. So I'm not going to go through all the exclusions in detail, but all the information about that is available and hopefully kind of clearly explained on the website. If there's anything that you think isn't clear on that list, then please feel free to give us feedback on that. So what are we looking for when we're assessing applications? So this is what we're looking for when we're looking at your expression of interest or your proposal. We're looking for applicants to show us that you are leading the way yourselves, or that you're part of a collaborative or a movement or a partnership to maximise your impact. We're looking for you to show us that you're driving change for the future. You can be doing that either by doing something new, breaking new ground, or it doesn't have to be native. You could be using a tried and tested model to push things forward for change in the future. We're also particularly looking for you to demonstrate that you are making a lasting difference, so that your work reaches beyond those immediately impacted by it, and is looking to influence policy, practice and behaviour so that we can see sustained change for the future. And although lots of work will obviously meet those criteria, we still won't be able to fund everything that meets those criteria. So for other things we're also looking for, and this slide shows you what those are. We're also interested in unusual collaborations and ambitious partnerships. And they may be working regionally or nationally. You might be working with organisations that aren't in the same sector as you, thinking creatively about how you can come together to work on issues where you align. We're looking for work that makes connections across our aims. So as Gina pointed out, we have several aims within our strategy. If your work meets more than one of them, that's quite exciting to us, although it doesn't have to do that, and we'll talk about that later on as well in the webinar. We're also looking for work that is led by people or communities most affected by the issues they're looking to tackle. So you might call this lived experience led by work. We are focusing on funding organisations which prioritise the voices of those people who've been affected by the issues that they are looking to tackle. We are looking for work that takes a preventative approach, so we want to be at the top of the cliff, not the bottom of the cliff, when we are looking at what we're trying to deliver. And we're looking at work that has practical plans. Now, by practical, what we mean is that you have thought about how you will achieve what you're looking to do. So it needs to be off the drawing board by the time it comes to us. We're looking for you to have an idea of how you're going to deliver what you want to achieve. And we're looking for you to show us that you want to deliver sustained change over the longer term. So again, saying all of that, there's still going to be applications that do all those things, but we won't be able to find everything that meets those criteria. So we're also, when we're making decisions, considering the 4 areas on this slide. We're going to be looking at your track record. So that's looking at the impact you've had in the past, and also where things haven't gone as you planned. What did you learn and how did you learn? In what ways did you do that? How are you listening and learning as you're going along? We're interested in the connections your proposed work could have with other work that we support. So is there potential for us to increase impact by thinking about your work in a cohort with other people doing something similar or complementary? We're interested in the broader context of your work. So at a political, socio-economic level, locally, regionally or nationally, what are the opportunities? What are the barriers? Who are the allies and the collaborators? And given the external environment, what influence or leverage can the work have? And finally, we're looking at the difference our support could make to you. So what value would us being in partnership with you add in terms of delivering this work? So when you submit an expression of interest to us, you're letting us know that you think you fit our strategy, and we'll look at your application based on all those things I've just spoken about. Always in the context of our strategy, and as Vina has said, we have to make judgments, and lots of applications won't be successful as a result of that. We can't fund everything, but please be assured that everything will be assessed carefully based on what we just talked about there. So let's have a look at the next section.
So we're just going to share a short video about how to apply.
There are 6 steps to apply. 1. Take our quiz to check you meet the minimum eligibility criteria. You'll be asked quick questions on the funding you're seeking and your organisation. The quiz takes a few minutes. 2. Read our funding guidance. It has 3 sections. A. More detail on how to apply. B. What we do and don't support. And C. Our strategy and funding priorities. Sections A and B take 30 minutes to read. For C, our strategy, read the parts relevant to your work. You'll find information on the outcomes we are focusing our support on. 3. If you think ESME is a good fit for your work, submit an expression of interest. Use this to tell us briefly what work you would like ESME to support, about the change you're focused on achieving, and how your organisation is well placed to deliver it. You'll have 300 words. We'll also look at your website to learn more about your organisation and work. You'll hear from us within 4 weeks to let you know whether we'll take your application further. 4. If your work is a potential match, we'll invite you for a conversation to learn more. The conversation will cover fit to our strategy, your approach, and your track record. 5. If your plans are a strong fit, we'll invite you to submit a proposal. You'll have 3 months to submit a proposal. If you already have a document that describes your work and shows how your work aligns with our strategy, you can use this. 6. After receiving your proposal, we'll invite you for a follow-up conversation. We'll then do a detailed assessment of your application. We aim to give you a decision within 3 months of receiving your proposal.
Great, thank you, Luna. So we're now going to take a look behind the scenes of what happens when you submit an expression of interest application to us. So we use the expression of interest as a basic screening tool. And what we're looking to establish is whether or not and the extent to which you meet our minimum eligibility criteria, and whether or not the work is a good fit for our funding priorities. Is the work leading the way, as we've said before, driving change for the future, and or does it aim to make a lasting difference? We also check your organisation's website, other publicly available documents, information at the Charity Commission, for example, Companies House if you're a KIT. We may also look at 360 Giving, other available information in public domain. We also look to see if you are a really good match, and for those that are, we'll invite you for an expression of interest phone call, which gives us the chance together to explore the application further. For reference, we have recently, I think a few months ago, changed our expression of interest questions, so now everybody completes the same questions. So let's have a look at applications we received in 2022. So we want to be really upfront about the numbers of applications we received. We were actually closed for part of 2022. So the number of applications we received that year were lower than in previous years across the board. Now, 4.4% of expressions of interest that had come through our website with no previous contact with ESME were invited to go through to a full proposal. So of those organisations, the 4.4%, 70% received a grant. This share in 2022 is lower than usual. In 2021, 84% received a grant, and the success rates at proposal stage are again
going higher in 2023. For expressions of interest we invite, success rates are much higher, though the figures here don't include applications which were withdrawn. Now, we are very mindful of bias. So we ask the same questions in the expression of interest conversation to use the same assessment tools for those that we do invite and for those that we don't. But our existing knowledge and learning, contacts, collaborations, the information we know of the sector does influence and impact our decisions. Back to you.
Thank you. So we are going to start wrapping up. This slide that I've shared right now, it's also in the slides that if you were able to download them, but I'll send them in a follow-up as well. So links to accessibility related support, our online FAQs, where you can find how you can search our funding data on GrantNav, which is a platform where lots of funders, not just us, share information about what they fund, and also links to previous webinars where we talk through a bit more detail about each of our main aims. And then also there is also a link to other funding sources with where we signpost to different funding priorities, and also a page on useful sector resources. I know you won't be able to click on those links there, but they are in the presentation slides. So we've got 2 more minutes. Do the panel just want to say a final word?
Happy to do that. Thank you to Luna, thanks to the panel, thanks to the interpreters, thank you to the ESME team behind the scenes answering questions. But most of all, thank you to you for turning up and asking us questions. We know that some of the things we've had to say are not what you want to hear, and please remember, our choices are our choices. They're not a judgment on the quality of your work or the need for it. It's not you, it's us. We are making decisions to make a small number of grants against an absolute wave of demand. You're out there doing the work, and thank you for that, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to say again, I think just to reiterate, we'll be sharing all of this, and if you have follow-up questions, just send us an email. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.